Hi, I'm Rain.
And this is RavenWynd, and you're listening to the Feather and Bone podcast. Two witches talking about everything witchy and nothing at all.
No, they're listening to me eat an Egg McMuffin.
Yeah. And this is because this is take 2 of this podcast. Luckily, we didn't get as far. I did that thing where I accidentally pause it after I start recording, and we were jabbering away and then realized that, hey, we wasn't recording.
We weren't recording?
We wasn't recording.
We weren't recording?
I am going to start purposely saying shit wrong. Because you know what's... Because I noticed in our everyday normal friendship conversations, you never correct me.
Well, usually you're driving the car.
No, okay, but like even
I don't
when
want you to hit me.
No, even when we're on the phone and like you're at your house and I'm at my house, like you never correct me. You wait until we're on the podcast so that everyone can hear.
I would like to correct you.
If you can show restraint in our friendship, you can show restraint on the podcast.
I don't know.
Because even when I'm in like a mistake and like say things wrong, it's still better than half the people that are out there.
That's your excuse?
Yes, we live in West Virginia. We live in West Virginia. It doesn't matter.
It matters to me.
Well, stop it.
And my happiness is important too.
So correcting me and making me look like a doofus on the podcast
doofus?
over and over and over again makes you happy.
So, wait. I don't think there's any way you could look like more of a doofus than I do on the fucking podcast.
Well, I think if people could see me today, they'd be like, well, she looks like a doofus today.
Yeah.
She may not sound like a doofus, 100% of the time, but she definitely looks like a doofus.
Yeah.
I have a turban-esque thing on my head this morning.
Yeah. I can't deal with it.
We should put a picture of it on Facebook later.
We should.
So today we're going to go over the second episode in our 3-part series, Shit Christianity Stole. Of course, we talked about how they stole Jesus in the last podcast. This one, we're going to talk about holidays. So, and of course, there's holidays that everyone knows that, is very, has a lot of very, pagan-esque stuff, So we're going to kind of go through them. And I did put the 2 that are the most common, Christmas and Easter, the first on the list. But before we get to that, I do have a pretty long list of sources for this one. CBSnews.com, they had an article, The Unexpected Pagan Origins of Popular Christmas Traditions. Mm-hmm. History.com on Saturnalia. LiveScience.com, Christmas Traditions, the history of paganism. WhereYourVoiceMag.com, Christmas pagan roots in the winter holiday. People.howstuffworks.com, they have an article about holidays and Christmas and Yule. Holodappy.com, 12 Christmas traditions with pagan origins. Hey,
I caught it. I wouldn't go say shit.
Origins. That's funny.
Did you notice I froze?
Yeah. You're like, what is that? Is that even a word? Ancientorgans.net, myth and legends, ancient pagan origins of Easter. Celtic Americana or Americara something, blogspot.com, Holly and Ivy. Scientificamerican.com, they had one about Easter. Germany.travel, and that one was the Easter Bunny and the Tale of the Eggs. CBN.com, the pagan roots of Halloween. List25.com, 25 popular holidays with surprisingly pagan origins. History.com, Valentines Day. I told you I had an extensive list of sources this time.
For my podcast, there's going to be like one reference.
See, this is the difference. AncientOrigins.net, American Tradition Thanksgiving Harvest Festival Roots of Old World. And the last one is Creation Calendar, and it talks about Thanksgiving.
Huh.
So I did a lot of research.
He just elbowed my foot.
His whole butt is shaking, like where he doesn't really have a tail. When he wags his tail, his whole butt.
He's mad because I gave the little one my piece of ham. But you remember, she wasn't feeling good yesterday.
Sick. Yeah. So
and she doesn't eat when she's sick. So I know she's starving.
Yeah. Oh, I could have killed Nyota last night.
Why?
She was in some sort of mood yesterday, all fucking day long. Mm-hmm. So I go to bed, and I hear her get off the couch. Now, I just put her outside, so I know she's not walking around to find a place to pee. So I'm like, okay, whatever. Then I hear it.
What?
Her chomping down on cat food like there's no tomorrow. Now my cat's...
She hasn't been doing that.
I don't know what's going on because she was fed as well. It's not like I forgot to feed her,
She clearly, if you guys were to see her, she is clearly not starving.
She's on a diet. The vet said, hey, you've only had her for a month and she's gained a lot of weight. You need to knock down her food. So I have been.
Do you care if I give him one of the spare hash browns?
No, I don't care. So I hear her, and now my cat's feeder, like they have one of those automatic feeders. So she's just eating, and it just keeps coming out and coming out. So I had to go in there, and I had to actually put her in her box last night, for a little bit, just so she knows that, like, hey, that's not okay. You can't do that. But I don't know. She was testing my nerves last night.
Speaking of cat food, this morning, you know how my bathroom's in my bedroom.
Yeah.
I'm on the toilet. I'm happy. Mm-hmm. We usually are when we're on the toilet.
Yep, just enjoying life.
All of a sudden I hear, and I look up from the toilet, and I see my cat heaving on top of my bed. And, I was mid-toilet sequence, so it's not like I could just jump up from where I was. Because then there would have been a whole other mess to deal with. I'm yelling at the cat from the toilet to get off my bed. And she waits until she vomits on my bed. Then she decides to get down.
I don't know what we're going to do with these pets.
I don't know what's happening.
I don't either. So, in the last episode, we talked about how Christianity co-opted Jesus. Now we're going to cover some of the holidays that they've taken over. Well, no, I don't know about taking over.
Make it look like there's some mass conspiracy.
Yeah. They've definitely borrowed some aspects. Okay. Early Christians wanted to convert pagans, and they knew that by incorporating their traditions, that would make it easier. Two of the big ones, Christmas and Easter, are probably the ones that come to mind first. So in ancient Rome, there was a fest called Saturnalia that celebrated the solstice, which, is the day that the sun starts coming, the winter solstice, the day that the sun starts coming back, and the days start getting longer. Saturnalia, held in mid-December, honored the agricultural god Saturn. I couldn't get that word out to save my life. Saturnalia. I could say Saturnalia.
But not agriculture.
Saturnalia celebrations are the source of many of the traditions we now associate with Christmas. Some similar traditions and activities that you may recognize included the practice of offering gifts. Work and businesses would come to a halt. Schools and courts of law were closed. People decorated their homes with wreaths and other greenery. Instead of working, Romans spent Saturnalia gambling, singing, playing music, feasting, socializing, and giving each other gifts.
Gambling. That sounds like my first baby shower.
There was gambling at your first baby shower.
Yes, and it wasn't my choice.
No. Filipinos have some different traditions.
They do. It was like a giant excuse just for everybody to get together and get drunk and gamble.
Yeah.
But I was the cover-up reason.
Yeah. They're like, please someone get pregnant. Please. Wax taper candles were common gifts during Saturnalia to signify
God,
to signify light returning after the solstice.
I'm so sorry.
That's great.
I'm used to just hanging around you and being nasty.
We just burp and fart and everything in front of each other. We don't care. Thanks to the Roman Empire's conquest in Britain and the rest of Europe, in their suppression over older seasonal rites practiced by the Celts and other groups, today's Western cultures derive many of their traditional celebrations of midwinter from Saturnalia. Even the time of year Christmas is celebrated comes from Saturnalia. The Bible does not give a date for Jesus' birth. In fact, some theologians have concluded he was probably born in the spring, as suggested by references to shepherds and sheep in the nativity story. By adopting Saturnalia's date of December 25th, the church was able to incorporate popular pagan midwinter traditions and convince the remaining pagan Romans to accept Christianity as Rome's official religion.
Hey, are you at a spot where I can...
Yeah.
Okay.
Interject.
So, I was watching this show last night while I was working. Because you know when you're working on the network, you'll just kind of have something on TV in the background to listen to if you want to. So, it was about Jesus.
Jesus.
And you know how they said he was born in a manger? And it made you think they stopped at a hotel and there wasn't any room and all this stuff. No, it was like the Bible made it sound like it was this manger, but it was actually like a relative's home and all the bedrooms and shit were full. And it showed where they were outside, and it was more like a really nice decorated cave type thing. It wasn't an actual like shed in the backyard. Yeah. I was quite surprised.
There's just another variation on the Jesus myth.
Yeah. Like, I'm sure he existed.
Yeah.
But I don't think he was like...
Well, there's all kinds of Jesuses out there today.
Yeah. I don't think that...
You're like, oh,
an
God.
old man in the sky came down and squirted in a virgin.
Squirted in a virgin.
It's early.
Ew. Was it Jimmy Fallon? Ew. The one where him and John Cena are doing it's like the best. Anyway.
Hey. John Cena's single. He does not want children. You cannot have children and do not want children. Perfect match.
Because that's going to happen.
You never know. We should call him.
Oh, you have John Cena's phone number.
We could reach him. Like, you know how all those kids will put out, like, YouTube videos asking people to the prom and shit? Oh, yeah. We're going to make you a John Cena video.
No.
Why?
He's too good looking.
What?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to date someone that good looking. I would constantly be worried that, like, someone better looking than me would be like, hey, I'm better looking than her. We match. We should be together.
No, you cook a lot. Men like that.
Christmas trees. Christmas trees are another custom that we can thank pagans for. The evergreen trees signaled the return of life and light, as the winter solstice meant that the days were starting to get longer.
Didn't they just decorate them out in the yard? They did. Kill the tree.
Yeah. They started to hang apples on trees to celebrate the idea that life and light were coming back into the world, which is essentially what Christmas means to Christians. Candles were often lit in the trees to represent the sun coming back. Mistletoe was a Druid custom. They believed that it was an all-powerful healing item from the sacred oak tree. If you met someone in the forest, you gave them the sign of peace under mistletoe. So people started to hang mistletoe above their doorways as a symbol of peace. This was such a powerful symbol of paganism that English churches actually banned the use of it for some time. Pagans had customarily decorated in winter with evergreens culled from the landscape, When everything else on the landscape was dead or dormant, evergreens reminded them of better times to come and the return of a green landscape in spring.
Did you know that back in the olden times,
Back in the olden days,
when everybody was Catholic, you weren't allowed to have sex whenever you wanted. It had to be on specific days of the month.
Yeah.
I should look that up.
I remember we talked about that in class one time.
So that means...
And we were like, nobody was ever having... And like, how do Catholics have so many damn kids if that was the case?
I know. So if they were only allowed to have sex on those days, that means everybody across Europe would have been screwing.
Meow, chicka, meow.
Simultaneously.
Maybe that's why Catholic priests had such a hard time remaining, to their vows, because like back in the old days, you could hear everybody all at once.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You're like, I feel so left out. Ivy had close ties with the Roman god of wine.
Dionysus?
No, Bacchus, Bacchus.
I never heard of that one.
Holly, meanwhile, figured predominantly in the Roman celebration of Saturnalia. Among the Celts, holly played a major role in summer and winter solstice observances. So, like, that's where all of that, like, holly and all of that comes from.
Scared you, didn't I?
You did. You looked at my phone, and I was like, please, God, tell me that it's not paused again, because I think you would kill me if we had to go through that list of sources again.
I would be like, just tell them the list of sources will be on our Facebook page.
Yeah, we're gonna take a photo of the page, and they can go check it out. Santa is something else that has been kind of borrowed. One of the first accounts of Santa was with the Germanic people and the Norse god Odin. Odin was said to ride an 8-legged horse that can leap great distances. At Yule, Odin leads a great hunting party through the sky in celebration. This story gives rise to comparisons of Santa and his 8 reindeer flying through the sky.
So if his horse had 8 legs, where did Odin's legs hang down? Because, when you see somebody riding a horse, you know where the horse's legs are, clearly.
Yeah.
And the person's legs are kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
So if the horse has 8 fucking legs, where are Odin's legs going to go without impeding the horse?
I would assume that...
Around its neck?
No. I would assume that the horse has a little bit of a longer body than a normal horse. And he would have 4 on the front, some space in the middle, and 4 on the back.
I was thinking they'd be more evened out like a spider.
Oh. That would be creepy looking, though.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't know. The things that you wonder, like, other people are like, oh, that's pretty cool. And you're like, where would his legs go, though? What the fuck?
It's going to be one of those days. I knew it when I saw the cat vomiting while I was on the toilet.
Because we've planned a busy day. Like, after this podcast, you're going to cut my hair.
Do you want to talk through the second podcast while I'm cutting your hair?
Oh, really?
We can if you want.
And we're going to record, I brought enough stuff that we could even bang out 3 podcasts today if we wanted to.
Okay.
And record some ahead of time.
Don't say bang out. You'll turn me on.
What?
My husband's been at work.
Jesus Christ. In some traditions, Odin's Yuletime ride, on his ride, children would place their boots near the chimney filled with treats, and Odin would reward them for their kindness with food, candy, or gifts.
So wait, they gave away food and treats to get food and treats?
Yeah. What's that look for?
That's stupid.
Okay. How many have you never left cookies out for Santa? Cookies and milk with your kids?
But they're leaving out the same type of shit he was giving them.
Maybe it was better. Maybe what he would leave would be
know.
better. But anyway. In other countries, the practice has been replaced with hanging stockings. So they used to leave, stuff in their shoes, and then they said, well, let's put them in our socks instead. The tradition of Yule logs has its root in pagan rituals. The Yule log is a reminder of the times when European pagans would have bonfires at the time of winter solstice, therefore symbolizing the return of the sun, with the days starting to get longer again. The Yule log played a major role in the Yule festivities. I'm going to sneeze.
Oh, you get to hear it. Do it.
It went away.
Ah.
The Yule log played a major role in the Yule festivities, with a piece of the previous year's log being saved to start the fire the following year. Traditionally, it was considered unlucky to buy a log, and instead it was harvested from the householder's land or received as a gift. Now, you and I have heard that it needs to be like a naturally felled log. Like, you don't want to go cut down a living tree for it. You want to find...
I was watching TV last night. I don't know if this is accurate, but it was the Christmas one in the season. And they said you have to keep the Yule log lit or else spirits will come into your house.
Oh.
And cause trouble. Like for witches and stuff.
Oh.
Something to do with the Yule log. The witches are supposed to enchant it or something, and then it keeps spirits out.
Huh.
See, I'm helping.
Once brought into the house and placed ceremoniously in the fireplace, it was decorated with greenery, smothered with alcohol, and dusted with flour before being set on fire.
Damn.
The log would then burn all night before smoldering for 12 days. I guess when they say they smothered it with alcohol, they mean it. Because for it to smother for 12 days, it would have to have been pretty wet.
Yeah.
Today, Yule logs are often represented by a chocolate-covered Swiss roll cake, sprinkled with icing sugar to represent the flour that was dusted onto the log before burning. It's decorated with small plastic sprigs of holly. I much prefer today's Yule logs.
Why?
Chocolate cake.
Because you can eat it?
Yes. Chocolate cake.
Well, you know me and chocolate.
Yeah.
You're like, I get all of the Yule log?
Yeah. So there's a lot of similarities. A lot of things that Christians do for Christmas that have very, pagan-y origins. And so thanks, Christians, for stealing yet another, sacred thing from an ancient peoples. Fuck you. Easter. Easter's the next one.
She's getting angry, folks.
I am. Easter was kind of funny. There was something that I had found in my research that I was like, I have no idea what this fucking means, and now I'm on a mission because and when I say it, you're gonna be like, what? Okay. So it's tempting to assume that because there's no biblical basis for the Easter bunny, rabbits and hares have no religious significance. But that's just not the case. Leviticus chapter 11.
Do I need to get my Bible out again?
Verse 6, states that the hare is an unclean animal. It says in Leviticus, the hare, for even though it chews the cud, it does not have divided hooves. It is unclean for you. But in Christian art, it is regularly associated with rebirth and resurrection. So that's a bit of a contradiction, but we are talking about Christianity here, so that's to be expected.
Guys, okay. Yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
she was giving me her Bible verse references, and I'm like, hold up.
Now, wait a minute. It wasn't my Bible.
Well, the ones you found.
It was, because I don't have a Bible. I don't look at the Bible. I don't read the Bible, nothing.
I've got like 50.
You have 80.
I my Bible out and I was checking all the references and reading out loud and everything. I thought I was going to drive you insane.
I tell you, yesterday I got so testy with you.
I know.
I was just like, because I was trying to do the research because it was your idea. Let's do a bunch of podcasts all at once. And I'm like, well, fuck me. Now I have to do a bunch of research all at once.
I was helping you.
You were trying so hard to help me, but it wasn't helpful. Because I got my webpage open. I'm on my computer and I'm like copy and pasting like things that I want to talk about. And you're reading shit off to me.
You're like insanely, what's the word? I don't want to say organized. It's something else. Maybe it's just insane.
Anal retentive?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's like you want help. You get mad that you have to do shit by yourself.
But I want it my way.
But it's impossible to help you with anything.
I stopped you and I was like, are you at your computer? And you said, no. I said, well, then that doesn't help me any. I said, if you were at your computer, you could copy and paste it into a message and I could copy and paste it. I'm not going to sit here and type out everything you're saying.
I found yesterday when I was trying to research for mine, I'm going to have to handwrite my stuff. I can't sit there at the computer and do it. I can't. No.
However you need to do it, you do it.
I just can't.
I can't have you help me with mine.
I want to slit my wrists sitting at the computer. I can't do it.
Or maybe if from now on, if you're trying to help me, like give me the website and let me be on it and look at it as you're looking at it, and then I can highlight what you're saying and copy and all that. But anyway,
no, I'm just not going to help.
Anyway, rabbits and hares have been associated with Mary, the mother of Jesus, for centuries. Their association with the virgin birth comes from the fact that hares are able to produce a second litter of offspring while still pregnant with the first.
What?
Yeah, now hares, not rabbits. Hares.
So they can be doubly pregnant?
Yeah, they'll already be pregnant. They'll go into heat and be fertilized again and be pregnant with dose pregnancies.
I'm not okay with that.
Yeah. That's why you multiply that thing like you're going to multiply like rabbits.
That's awful.
Yeah, but not rabbits, just hares do that. In 325 AD, Emperor Constantine conveyed a meeting of Christian leaders. Since the church believed that Jesus' resurrection took place on a Sunday, the council determined that Easter should always fall on the first Sunday of the first full moon following the spring equinox. Easter has since remained without a fixed date, but proximate to the full moon, which coincided with the start of Passover.
So they held a committee meeting to decide when Jesus came back.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And I like how they, because you think about pagans and how they followed the cycles of the moon and everything. And they're probably already having their own festivals,
Yeah.
So they were like, let's just put it on the same day that these pagans are always doing it. Literally. and we'll call it Easter. So, the word Easter comes from, and you were talking about this when we were doing the podcast on Jesus. The word Easter stems from the word Eostre, Eostre, which is another version of the name Ostara. As the bringer of light after a long dark winter, the goddess Ostara was often depicted with the hare, an animal that represents the arrival of spring as well as the fertility of the season. The most widely practiced customs on Easter Sunday relate to the symbol of the rabbit, the quote-unquote Easter bunny, and the egg.
I want her job. She worked once a year.
Ostara?
Yeah.
Yeah. She's like enjoying the fruits of her labor the rest of the time. The rabbit was a symbol representing the beginning of springtime. Likewise, the egg has come to represent spring, fertility, and renewal. In Germanic mythology, it is said that Ostara healed a wounded bird she found in the woods by changing it into a hare. Still partially a bird, the hare showed its gratitude to the goddess by laying its eggs as gifts. So there's where you have the bunny giving eggs.
Okay.
Okay. I often wondered about that when I was a child. Like, why does the Easter Bunny give eggs? Like, it's a bunny, you know. They don't lay eggs. They have live births. But it's because Ostara healed a wounded bird she found in the woods, and it was like, thank you, Ostara. Here's some eggs from my butthole.
She's like, thanks.
The ancient Egyptians and Persians also had a custom of collaring eggs and eating them during their spring festival. You know, and that was like the best part of my childhood, was like after Easter was over and you found all the eggs, you know, Dad was like, put them back in the fridge. Because we actually collared real eggs. Like, we didn't buy plastic ones and hide them. And then when you get to eat those.
Oh, they couldn't make me eat those.
Really?
Yeah.
Why? Because they had been collared?
Yeah.
I thought it was funny that you would take the shell off and your egg was a different color.
I wouldn't go near them.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, I remember my dad, like just sitting at the table with my dad and him, like, busting them open.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd sit there and eat
now
oddly collared eggs.
Now I would, but I don't know. I was weird.
There's an Easter Bunny reference that could be found in a German text dating to 1572 AD. And it says, this is what fucked me up. Don't worry if the Easter Bunny escapes you. Should we miss his eggs, we will cook the nest.
What?
Yeah. So I was like, what does that mean? What do you mean? Like, do not worry if the Easter Bunny escapes you. Should we miss his eggs, we will cook the nest. So I had to research that. I had to, like, what do you mean? Why, you know? And it was a little convoluted to find the answer to that. What happened was that German children, you know, like with Santa, they would leave you leave cookies and milk out for Santa.
Yes.
Well, German children would leave carrots and make nests, like fake nests, and like leave carrots and stuff in it for the Easter Bunny. So like he was saying, you know, like I guess the kids would make the nest and they would leave things, and then if the Easter Bunny didn't leave, you know, candy or you know, anything in there for the children and eggs, the parents were like, well, we'll just cook what you left in the nest. We'll cook the carrots and stuff, and that's what we'll eat.
Oh,
isn't that weird?
It is weird.
But it wasn't until the tradition made its way to the United States via the arrival of German immigrants that the custom took on its current form that we see today of what Easter is. The Easter Bunny, anyway. The first edible Easter bunnies, they were made of pastry and sugar.
That sounds good.
Yeah, and they were also produced in Germany in the early 1800s. So they were making Easter bunnies in the 1800s back in Germany. You know, because like we have the chocolate bunnies today.
Yeah,
that's what they did. Around that time, children, like I said, they would make nests out of grass, and they would put those in their parents' spring gardens for the Easter Bunny to fill during the night. Pennsylvania Dutch settlers brought the Easter Bunny to America in the 1700s. Their children who used their hats or bonnets to make the nest believe that if they were well behaved, and I'm going to fuck this up, the Osterhals.
Nice.
Literally really means Easter hare, would fill their upturned headgear with colored eggs. The Easter hunt remains as much a tradition in German towns and cities as it is on the White House lawn in Washington, D.C. today. Children race to find the bunny's colorful eggs across the world every year. The Easter hare. Osterhals. Osterhals? I don't know. Now, the next one we're going to talk about is Halloween. I think that Halloween or Samhain is perhaps every witch's favorite holiday.
It's like we're allowed to be witches.
Yeah, I need to start saving. Well, I need to start getting money first, but I need to start setting aside like every paycheck $25, $30 so that when Halloween rolls around and Joanne Fabrics gets all those fucking fabulous Halloween decorations,
Yeah.
I can go get some more for my house.
You have like a whole wall already.
I want more.
Well, my daughter wants to steal your sign with the cat on it. Something about gypsy or...
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I just tell her you're leaving it to her in your will. That's all I can say.
If they have those again, we will get her one as her Samhain present.
Okay.
But she can't have the one I have. I would give just about anything to your daughter, except for my Halloween decorations. Anyway. So in ancient Britain and Ireland, the Celtic festival of Samhain. Okay, now here's the thing with Samhain, okay? It is spelt Samhain. I know a certain group of people that will remain unnamed, as they do every time I talk about them. If a newbie says Samhain or Samhain instead of Samhain, like, they make them feel stupid.
How are you supposed to even remotely know it's pronounced Samhain?
Yeah.
How do we know it's even really pronounced Samhain?
Yeah.
We don't know.
I think it's stupid. I don't care if someone says Samhain, Samhain, Halloween. Like, I don't care what they... Like, just don't be assholes. That's...
Like, I would like to know how everybody supposedly knows it's pronounced Samhain.
Yeah. I don't know. But anyway, the Celtic festival of Samhain was observed on October 31st at the end of summer. The souls of the dead were supposed to revisit their homes on this day, and the autumn. Okay. The autumn festival acquired sinister significance, with ghosts, witches, goblins, black cats, fairies, and demons of all kinds said to be roaming about. It was the time to placate the supernatural powers controlling the process of nature. In addition, Halloween was thought to be the most favorable time for divinations concerning marriage, luck, health, and death. It was the only day on which the help of the devil was invoked for such purposes.
I would like to throw in something.
That's the whole point of the podcast.
Like, for people that don't know, Samhain is the one day of the year where the veil between us and the spirit world is supposed to be the thinnest. So it's much easier for spirit communication.
Mm-hmm.
And you might notice, even people that don't normally see or communicate with spirits, you might notice things happening around you that day.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why they like to do magic for certain things on that day, because they feel that you can more easily get help from the other side.
Yeah. If you're going to, like, graveyard dirt and everything, that's like a good time to do that. I mean, you can get graveyard dirt anytime, but, on Samhain's a good time to go collect that for your magical purposes.
Speaking of graveyard dirt.
Yeah.
When I was doing my quasi-research last night,
yes,
if you want to call it research, I came across a site. Now, I'm not picking on these people, because you and I both know that Satanists don't actually worship Satan or anything like that. But there's a site, they offer services like readings and things of that nature. They have this thing where they can send you your own kit and instructions, do it yourself, or they'll do it for you, where you make a pact with a spirit. And I wanted to look more into it just because I thought it'd be interesting to talk about.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I want to do it, but I don't know if I'd be okay with doing it for myself.
Yeah.
But I was reading some of the testimonials of people that had it done. And they're talking about how they only need like 3-4 hours of sleep now. They just wake up full of energy. And how they have all these really good things happening for them. It's like they have constant good luck.
Yeah.
And, but I also read that it's a relationship you have to really feed.
Yeah.
So I'm curious how you would do that.
Yeah, I don't know. And I'm imagining you, because you're all about you.
Oh, yeah.
So you'd be like, I don't know if I want to, spend all this time feeding my spirit friend's ego.
You should be feeding mine.
Halloween symbols, customs, and practices undoubtedly have a variety of influences upon Western culture throughout history. However, in early American history, Halloween was not celebrated due to America's strong Christian heritage. It was not widely observed until the 20th century. Initially, it was practiced only in small Irish Catholic settlements until thousands of Irish migrated to America during the Great Potato Famine and brought their customs with them. Man, it's like I got a dick in my throat.
Is that what it sounds like?
To some degree, our modern Halloween is an Irish holiday with early origins in the Celtic Winter Festival. Interestingly, in American culture, the rise in popularity of Halloween also coincides roughly with the national rise in Spiritism that began in 1848.
What's Spiritism?
Kind of like the belief in spirits, like when they were like back in the 1800s, early 1900s, when they were desperately trying to contact, spirits, since they was like the seances.
I know the seances were huge.
Yeah.
Why don't me and you ever have a seance?
Well, we've tried to use we tried to use
this is so funny.
We tried to use a Ouija board
More than once,
and in different locations and everything. And we'll start, and like first it doesn't do anything, and then like when we're like, come on, like peer pressure with the ghost, like come on,
talk to us,
let's do something. It always slides to no, and then nothing.
It refuses to work for us.
Yeah, no.
It has to be like either a spirit that is a lot like my daughter or like me.
Yeah,
just no. You're pressuring me, so I'm not going to do it.
Oh, Ireland. Ireland is the only place in the world where Halloween is actually a national holiday.
Oh.
It's celebrated with fireworks. Children are released early from school.
Children are released.
Release the children.
What the fuck?
Children are released from school for the week.
What?
Halloween is a week-long celebration in Ireland. The carved pumpkin may have originated with the witches' use of a collection of skulls with a candle in each one to light the way to coven meetings. Now, I don't know if they mean like human skulls or like animal skulls.
I was just thinking that's not creepy at all.
It's like, oh, there's a bunch of skulls with candles in it. Couldn't be a witch.
I should follow them.
Yeah. But among the Irish, who was, as noted, before, like, really into Halloween, they have the legend of Irish Jack. And that legend explains the jack-o'-lantern. According to the legend, a stingy drunk man.
Did you say a stinging?
Stingy.
Stingy?
Sting. No. Maybe. No. Maybe. Named Jack tricked the devil into climbing an apple tree for an apple. Now, first of all, if you can trick the devil into climbing an apple tree, you're pretty wily,
And stingy.
and stingy.
No, stingy.
Stingy. Once the devil was in the tree, he cut the sign of a cross into the trunk of the tree to prevent the devil from coming down. Jack then forced the devil to swear he would never come after Jack's soul. The devil reluctantly agreed. Jack eventually, died, as we all do. But he was turned away at the gates of heaven because of his drunkenness and life selfishness. Which means he was stingy. He was sent to the devil, who also rejected him, keeping his promise. Since Jack had no place to go...
Purgatory?
He was condemned to wander the earth. As he was leaving hell, he happened to be eating a turnip. The devil threw a live coal at him, but Jack then took the coal and put it inside his turnip, and has since forever been roaming the earth with his jack-o'-lantern.
His glowing turnip?
Yeah, in search of a place for rest.
Where the fuck did he get a turnip?
It was Ireland. Turnips and potatoes, that's what they had.
But he was dead. Where did he get a turnip?
Well, he was stingy, remember? He's like, I'll just take this.
He pop it out of his butthole or something?
Apparently. Eventually, pumpkins replaced turnips since it was much easier to symbolize the devil's coal inside of a pumpkin.
The devil's coal inside of a pumpkin.
So how did the tradition of trick-or-treating begin? There are several ancient practices that point to this tradition. One possibility is from the notion that ancient witches had to steal the materials needed for their festivals. The Druids may have believed that witches held this day to be special, something clearly true for modern witches. The idea of trick-or-treating is further related to the ghosts of the dead in pagan and even Catholic history. For example, among the ancient Druids, the ghosts that were thought to throng... I've said that one right. Throng, throng. The ghosts that were thought to throng about the house of the living were greeted with a bouquet-laden table. At the end of the feast, masked and costumed villagers representing the souls of the dead paraded to the outskirts of town, leading the ghosts away. So that's like when you walk through the streets in your costumes.
Like, I always thought, because I read it somewhere or saw it somewhere, people would dress up in scary costumes so that the dead would think that they were dead as well and wouldn't come after them.
Yeah, would leave them alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot. I think that might even be in here because we're not done with Halloween. But there, and that's the thing. Like, there's a lot of different mythos behind different traditions, and depending on, and it's like we borrowed a little bit from this culture and a little bit from that culture, and like then we have what we practice today in America. As already noted, Halloween was thought to be a night when mischievous and evil spirits roamed freely. As in modern poltergeist lore, mischievous spirits could play tricks on the living, so it was advantageous to hide from them by wearing costumes, which is what you just said. Masks and costumes were worn to either scare away the ghost or keep from being recognized by them.
Yeah.
In Ireland especially, people thought that ghosts and spirits roamed after dark on Halloween. They lit candles or lanterns to keep the spirits away, and if they had to go outside, they wore costumes and masks to frighten the spirits or keep them from being recognized by unearthly beings. I
wonder how they thought they could scare a spirit.
Have you seen photos of some of like early Halloween costumes?
They were just creepy looking.
Fucking, that's right. Even spirits would have been like, Jesus fucking Christ. They'd have been like, listen, we don't go on that side of the street.
Those old Easter Bunny costumes.
Oh, yeah. Back in the day, like, you didn't need, like, we have all, like, our scary movies today, we have all, like, the CG and, like, all those, like, no. Just put some really fucking old costumes on some creepy walking guys, and I'm done.
My Halloween costume when I was little was a decorated paper plate with a rubber band on it that held it on my face and a bed sheet.
Man, an additional layer of tradition explaining the origin of Halloween costumes comes from the medieval Catholic practice of displaying the relics of saints on All Saints' Day. The poorer churches could not afford relics, and so instituted a procession with parishioners dressed as patron saints. The extras dressed as angels or devils, and everyone paraded around the churchyard.
The extras?
Yeah, like, because it says the parishioners dressed as patron saints. So I guess, like, once they ran out of saints to dress up as, whoever was left got to dress up as angels and devils. But that sounds like a fun time at the church. Just out in the churchyard. And, because, like, back in the day, the cemeteries was always connected to the church. So then you would have like a bunch of people out there dressed up as saints, devils, and angels just partying all around the tombstones.
That would piss me off if I was dead.
Going from door to door seeking treats may be from the Druidic practice of begging material for the great bonfires. Let's see. As for the trick custom of Halloween, this is related to the idea that ghosts and witches created mischief on this particular night. For example, if the living did not provide food or treats for the spirits, then the spirits would trick the living.
Because dead people have got to eat.
Yeah. When you said that, what popped in my head was in Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Where the ghost had that feast. And all of the... please tell me we're not having more than one Harry Potter snafu in our relationship in less than a week.
You need to give me more information.
Nearly Headless Nick.
Oh.
Okay, he had that feast where he invited all the ghosts, but then he invited Harry and I think even Ron went. Do you remember it? Oh my God. How are we even friends right now?
You spend a lot more time alone and you watch your movies 18 times.
This is from the book. I have not seen a Harry Potter movie in years.
I don't remember it from the book. And I've read the books. Except the newest one that I bought you.
The ghosts would have, like when they would have their feast, they would serve just the rottenest, nastiest, gone over, spoiled food. Because they can taste it if it's really, really bad. But humans can't. Like they would float through it with their mouth open. And then they would be able to taste the rotten, barely, but they could. I can't believe, because earlier in the week I had to explain to you what the Deathly Hallows were.
You know what though? You're weird because every series of anything that you've ever been into, you do research outside of the movies and books. Like, you research each character and get their backstories and everything.
Yeah.
I just don't do that.
Okay. I would... Do
I need to reread the books for you?
Well, okay, I would give you that if not for the fact that the Deathly Hallows was the entire fucking book. It wasn't a backstory. It's the main theme of the final book. Okay?
I thought it was like a place.
No.
I'm like, oh, they're going into a holler.
No.
And it's dangerous.
No. I will give you the ghost and the feast, and I'll give you that one. That's an easy one but the Hollow...
I just don't think them being called that makes any sense.
Well, they're from England. I'm
what?
sure. No, I'm
so
sure.
Am I.
I'm sure. No, you're not. Your people may have been from England, but you are not. I'm sure to the English people it made sense. It's like a term that they would, just like over there in England, cigarettes are fags. You say,
Chips are crisps.
Crisps. Chips, chips are French fries. Like fish and chips. It's fish and French fries.
Yeah.
So, anyway, goddamn, I can't believe, anyway.
Just think you're spending all day with me.
Oh, geez. So people feared terrible things might happen to them if they did not honor the spirits. So that's why they would decorate the house for them, leave the treats out, and, that kind of stuff. So, and the thought was, like, as far as like the trick-or-treating, people were already having like the feast for the dead, like the dumb supper or whatever it's called. Isn't that what's called, a dumb supper?
I thought you were going to say the dump supper.
The dump. So kids being kids are pretty goddamn smart, and they're like, hey, we'll dress up and they won't know for sure if we're really a spirit or not, and they'll give us the candy and the treats and stuff. The Druids also believed that failure to worship their gods would bring dire consequences. If the gods were not treated properly in ritual, they would seek vengeance. This was therefore a day of fear. Some people soon realized that a mischievous sense of humor or even malevolence could be camouflaged.
See, you need me.
I do. They could perform practical jokes on or do harm to others and blame it on the ghost or witches roaming about. So
that's kind of reaching.
Well, there's a lot of stuff that, people try to connect, and anyway. So that's it for Halloween or Samhain.
This is Halloween.
This is Halloween.
I've had that song in my head ever since you started talking about Halloween.
The next one?
Yes.
Valentine's Day?
Yes. Oh! Last podcast, we were like, is Cupid a god?
Yeah, he is.
She looked it up, because I didn't.
She's like, as we were saying just a couple minutes ago, she's kind of crazy.
That he was a god.
Yeah.
And we were saying we didn't know if there were any male gods of like love and sexuality,
lust and
like
passion.
That. Yeah,
Cupid.
It's
just in modern times that Cupid has been turned from
into a freaky
into a little baby with a diaper and wings and all that stuff.
Who'd you say his mom was? Athena?
I think so. I don't remember. That was a few days ago.
Okay.
I don't remember. Valentine's Day. The Catholic Church recognizes at least 3 different saints named Valentine or Valentinus.
It sounds like an STD.
Right. All of whom were martyred. One legend contends that Valentine was a priest who served during the 3rd century in Rome. When Emperor Claudius II decided that single men made better soldiers than those who had wives and families, he outlawed marriage for young men.
What?
Yeah. Valentine, realizing the injustice of this decree, defied Claudius and continued to perform marriages for young lovers in secret. When Valentine's actions were discovered, Claudius ordered that he be put to death. Other stories suggest that Valentine may have been killed for attempting to help Christians escape harsh Roman prisons, where they were often beaten and tortured. According to one legend, an imprisoned Valentine actually sent the first, Valentine greeting himself after he fell in love with a young girl, possibly the jailer's daughter, who visited him during his confinement. Before his death, it is alleged that he wrote her a letter and signed "From your Valentine," as an and that's an expression that is still in use today. Others claim that the Christian Church may have decided to place St. Valentine's Day feast in the middle of February in an effort to Christianize the pagan celebration of
what?
Lupercalia, Lupercalia.
Never heard of it.
Lupercalia. It's celebrated at the Ides of February or February 15th. Lupercalia, if I'm saying that wrong, I apologize. You guys should know that by now, that's just what it's going to be.
I've never heard of it, so I'm no help.
Lupercalia was a fertility festival dedicated to Faunus, the Roman god of agriculture, as well as the Roman founders Romulus and Remus. To begin the festivals, members of...
She's just grabbing her ear.
Lupercy.
No way.
Luperci. Lupercy.
It's probably like Lupreci or something like that. It's not Lupracy, I can guarantee you that.
An order of Roman priests. It was an order of Roman priests would gather at a sacred cave where the infants Romulus and Remus, the founders of Rome, were believed to have been cared for by a she-wolf. What the fuck? A she-wolf or lupa.
A she-wolf.
Wolf. Oh, God, you're losing me now.
We're only in the first podcast.
Woof. The priest would sacrifice a goat for fertility.
Poor goat.
And a dog for purification.
Wait, what?
I just report it.
Jesus God.
They would then strip the goat's hide into strips. Oh, hang on. Dip them into the sacrificial blood and take to the streets, gently slapping both women. Gently slapping both women and crop fields with the goat hide. So,
I got nothing.
So they would kill the goat,
strip its skin off,
and dip it in the dog blood,
and slap people with it,
and walk through the streets slapping women, just women,
and crops,
with the goat hide.
Wow.
They
never stopped and thought that maybe the men were infertile as well.
Far from being fearful, Roman women welcomed the touch of the hides because it was believed to make them more fertile in the coming year.
I would have been running and hiding like a son of a
bitch. Like, ew.
I'm not having any more babies.
Later in the day, according to legend, all the young women in the city would place their names in a big urn. The city's bachelors would each choose a name and become paired for the year with his chosen woman. These matches often ended in marriage.
What if they hated each other?
Right. I guess he would just beat her with some more bloody fur. I don't know. Lupercalia.
What if she's all excited? She's like, oh, I got a man. He stuck with me for a year. And then she sees him naked.
Well, I imagine, because, if you're being beat, if you're being beat by bloody fur, okay, you're not going to look your greatest. So he pulls your name out of the urn, and he's like, okay, so this bloody mess is what I have. So she goes home, she gets all cleaned up. He's like, you know what? It ain't half bad.
But then she sees his tiny penis.
Well, it's just for a year.
You didn't make it a year.
8 months. 8 months.
I remember you used to call me or text me.
Yeah.
Sneak, and you'd be like, I'm trying to come up with an excuse I can to not.
It became almost like a game where I would have to find some way of not having sex. And I've, because like, I don't have a uterus, so I can't claim period.
He was wanting you to go get counseling.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what's funny? I mean, it's not funny, but it's funny. Because I used headaches a lot as an excuse.
And you ended up with a brain tumor.
And I ended up with a brain tumor. Anyway. Lupercalia survived. And I know I'm not saying it right. I don't care. Lupercalia survived the initial rise of Christianity, but was outlawed as it was deemed unchristian at the end of the 5th century when Pope... Oh, Jesus Christ.
Spell it.
Gelasius. Gelasius, whatever, declared February 14th St. Valentine's Day. During the Middle Ages, it was commonly believed in France and England that February 14th was the beginning of a bird's mating season, which added to the idea that the middle of Valentine's Day should be a day for romance.
People were bored, weren't they?
Valentine greetings were popular as far back as the Middle Ages, though written Valentines didn't begin to appear until after 1400. The oldest known Valentine still in existence today was a poem written in 1415 by Charles, Duke of Orleans, to his wife while he was imprisoned in the Tower of London, following his capture at the Battle of Agincourt. The greeting is now part of the manuscript collection of the British Library in London, England. Several years later, it is believed that King Henry...
Which one?
The V.
The 5th?
5. I never can remember Roman numerals.
King Henry the V.
I was doing this and you wouldn't look up from your phone. I was wanting you to be like, V and say 5 and not make me say V. King Henry V hired a writer named John Lydgate to compose a Valentine note to Catherine of Valois.
Valois.
Valois. There you go. So that's all.
Miss French student.
I had French in high school, and all I can remember is the alphabet. That's it.
That's pretty shitty. You gotta pay somebody to write a Valentine like that. I'd be mad.
Yeah, you wouldn't be impressed if you was Miss French lady?
No. I'd pay somebody to write him back.
Yeah. You suck.
No, I'd be like, write this and I'll go mail it.
Yeah.
So, I'm having a thought.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, you like to give much more information than I do.
Yeah.
You might have to help me with my podcast. Because I'm just going to go on one page, be like, this is what it is. This is how you do it. This is how I would make these types.
And that's what I said. Our podcasts have always go anywhere between, an hour and a half to 2 hours. You have to have 3 to 5 pages worth of information with that size font.
I can't see it.
and no spacing and stuff. Like, that's the only way to make that happen.
My podcast would be like 30 minutes.
Yeah. So you either need to...
It either needs to be a 2-parter where I do that part and then you do something you want to do, or you can help me with the one topic.
Or you could add on to it and do more than just the gree bags. Like, choose another form of hoodoo that kind of goes with gree and add on to it.
I know nothing about hoodoo.
The last holiday we're going to talk about is Thanksgiving. Even Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving, you say?
Thanksgiving? Please, sir, can I have some more? Thanksgiving. It's a time to be with family and friends, to remember the history of the country's founders hundreds of years ago, and to be grateful for all they have. In effect, it's a time to count blessings and enjoy the bounty of the year, with a very large focus on traditional foods such as roasted turkey and seasonal vegetables. The holiday is considered a vital part of American history, of the American history and identity. The ancient origins of Thanksgiving stem from the tradition of harvest festivals stretching back long before early European colonists reached the New World. The shift from hunting and gathering to, more agricultural pursuits focused on the domestication of plants and animals during the Neolithic Revolution. A successful harvest was of major importance, dictating the stability and health of a community. Harvest celebrations marked the end of summer and were a time of feasting and paying tribute to gods for bounty, prosperity, and good health. These harvest festivals were
It's like paying a tax.
Yeah. Tax to the gods.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
These harvest festivals were common around the globe in one form or another for millennia. A harvest festival honoring Min, god of vegetation and fertility, was celebrated by ancient Egyptians. At the end of harvest, a grand parade was said to be held, in which the pharaoh would be featured. The Egyptian farmers would pretend to weep and mourn so as to fool the spirits that they. Let me try that sentence again. The Egyptian farmers would pretend to weep and mourn so as to fool the spirits that were living in the crop. This ruse was apparently to blindside the spirits so they wouldn't suspect they were about to be harvested.
What?
Yeah. Like, they believed that spirits lived in the crops, so they would have a parade and they would go through, like, crying and mourning. To fool.
They were tricking their food.
Yeah.
What did they think the food was going to do?
Listen, I'm not going to judge the Egyptians at all. They build pyramids.
That was aliens.
I can't even put together a computer desk from Walmart.
That's actually accurate.
You were helping me put that desk together, and I ended up shoving a fucking screwdriver.
You're like crying and injured and everything.
I shoved a screwdriver.
Something happened. You couldn't stand up anymore. You got dizzy. Like, I don't know. Do you remember that?
It was horrible. I ended up like shoving a screwdriver like underneath my cuticle.
And not a few days later or something. It wasn't too long later. You like stabbed yourself with a box cutter.
I did. I shoved a box cutter a good 3 inches down into my inner thigh.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm not going to make fun of anybody that can build pyramids and shit because I can't even function on a daily basis.
I still think it was aliens.
Ancient Greeks give their thanks to Demeter, goddess of fertility and harvest. Romans honored the goddess of agriculture, Ceres. Ceres.
Ceres, maybe?
Ceres, from which the word cereal is derived.
Yeah.
Another festival was held to honor the gods of grain. Ancient Celtic people had robust harvest festivals, and these traditions have continued for thousands of years. The Chinese and Hindus are said to have celebrated harvest festivals thousands of years ago. The Israelites were instructed to keep the Feast of the Tabernacles, a celebration that was to last 8 days. The ancient Greek harvest festival was called Thesmophoria.
Damn.
Thesmophora, something like that.
Yeah.
And celebrated Demeter, the founder and goddess of harvest. The symbols of Demeter were poppies and ears of corn, a basket of fruit, and a little pig.
Fruit?
Fruit. The Roman goddess of harvest, we talked about before, the Ceres or whatever, Ceres, whatever, had a festival which occurred on October 4th and was called Cerealia. The symbols of Thanksgiving, or symbols of a fruitful goddess and her fertility rites, are some of the things that we kind of associate today with Thanksgiving. Cornucopias is one of those symbols. In Greek mythology, the horn of Amalthea.
Whenever you say horn, I always think the Great Horn of Africa. I know I've said that before. You're like, what the fuck?
The horn of Amalthea, and that was the name of the goat who suckled Zeus.
Oh, what the fuck?
The name of the goat
was
suckled by a goat.
What is it with goats?
Became known as the cornucopia or the horn of Pliny. Isis, the Egyptian faithful wife, mother, and goddess, was identified with Hathor, the horned cow goddess. Horns are still used in pagan festivals today. Corn is another symbol of Thanksgiving, and it represents the goddess Ceres or Ceres or cereal, whatever.
Cereal.
The corn goddess.
The corn goddess. I don't know why, but that makes me laugh. No disrespect to anybody that worships the corn goddess, but that's fucking funny.
Yeah. The Feast of the Tabernacles is the only feast to be celebrated as the feast of ingathering for his people. In England, the autumn festival was called Harvest Home, and was derived from the Druidic Harvest Fest. This 3-day feast began with a special service at the village church, which it had been decorated for the occasion with fruit and flowers. Afterwards, followed a communal dinner. In America, the celebration of Thanksgiving sprang up haphazardly and was celebrated, if at all, on different days in different parts of the country until... Haphazardly. Until it was...
all willy-nilly.
Until it was more mainstreamed and all that. So yeah, that was that's some holidays. No, there was a lot more, but I just wanted to touch on some of the big ones. And obviously the only and to be completely honest, the only reason Valentine's Day made it in there was where they were beating those women with the bloody fur. I knew that was something that you would be like, what?
I would not be okay with that. Hepatitis. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, back then,
dog hepatitis because it was in dog.
yeah, back then, they were not as concerned as we are today.
Could you see me running from them? I don't want dog AIDS.
Yeah. If we went back in time, we would be burned as witches.
We would.
And not because of any, actual witchery, but just because, like...
I'd be like, I want to bathe.
Yeah. And we'd be like, no, you really need to cook that food first.
Yeah, please wash your hands before you cook my food.
Yeah, like, listen, I just watched you, like, murder the chicken to, like, and pluck all the feathers out. Yeah. And you've got entrails under your nails. Yeah. Please wash your hands before,
Yeah, yeah. You'd be like, call the CDC.
Yeah. And we would look at milk and be like, no, it's not pasteurized. And they'd be like, that cow came from the pasture. What are you talking about?
They're too clean.
Anyway. So we are still gearing up for Beltane.
I have an announcement too.
Oh, okay.
I found my outfit.
Oh, yes. Now this, because if you listen on the last podcast, the outfit has been
ridiculous.
And because she's the one that insisted we do white, so we're doing white. And then she's like, I don't have anything white. And then one day I was like, well, what about those white pants? You're like, nah.
No.
And you're like, I have this white shirt. And I was like, well, what about the white? No. So she finally puts on the white pants and the white shirt, and she looks fucking bomb ass. Like
after over a month of me worrying about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't even. But anyway, so
I had like clothes coming from Thailand.
Yeah.
And everywhere.
Yeah. And nothing that you bought was white. Anyway, so we're getting ready for Beltane. That's exciting. I'm right now writing, because we're doing the opening ritual. I'm trying to find some way to make it very interactive for everybody that's there. Like, and in the past I've seen a lot of just very quiet, somber. You
might need a megaphone if you're wanting people to really be able to hear it and get involved.
I can talk really loud.
I don't know. At any of the opening rituals there, I have never heard anything anybody was saying.
We'll have to see if anyone has a megaphone. Can you imagine me out there in my high priestess
with a megaphone?
All right, y'all fuckers.
Could we bling it out?
What do you mean? Oh, the megaphone?
Make it like a Stevie Nicks megaphone.
Well, I mean, we're gonna have to borrow it. I'm not buying a megaphone.
You're not gonna give it back bedazzled.
No. We'll have to figure it out. I'll practice talking really loudly, and we'll see how far. Like, maybe you can go stand up in the road, and I'll stand on your front porch, and start like saying what we say to cast a circle, and you can tell me if you can hear it at the road, and all your neighbors will be like, "What? The primordial source of what?"
You can just yell out, "Don't worry, people, she's just horny."
Yeah. And then the sex offender up the road would be like, "How old is she?"
I got some pictures.
Oh, that fucker. Oh, he needs to go. His yard is dead.
They never go outside.
Well, because he's a fucking child molester.
Well, my husband has driven by there so many times yelling out the window, "I'm gonna kill you." I just haven't decided which one of my weapons I'm going to use yet. And I'm like, stop.
He's like, I'm going to make sure that fucker knows not to even look in our daughter's direction.
Oh, yeah. He has openly, like, challenged the sex offender more than once.
That's kind of great, though.
He's funny.
That's kind of great.
Yeah, they don't come outside.
So no, I am working on the ritual for Beltane. I'm also working on the next lesson.
What's it on again?
It's going to be on the different forms of divination, and we'll have a podcast to go along with that.
You know, I'm glad you're the one that. I'm glad you're a writer. I just can't concentrate enough to do this kind of stuff.
Yeah. You have a lot more appreciation for what I do for the podcast now, don't you?
I think you're crazy. I don't know why you want to do it. She enjoys it.
Yeah, I do.
She loves it.
I do.
And I'm over here like, oh my God, what the fuck?
You're like, there's so much information. I'm like, yeah, you just got to whittle it down to like just the bare, what they just barely need to know. And then if they want to do more research, then they can do that. But anyway, so we're working on things over here at Feather and Bone. You can find us on the website. It's featherandbone.net. There you'll have access to our lessons, our shop, just a bunch of different stuffs. There's links to the webpage, or not the webpage, but the Facebook group.
Yeah.
The podcast website, all of that kind of stuff.
Honestly, guys, I recommend joining the Facebook group because everything that's going on gets posted in there, and you'll see a lot of stupidity in there, and us acting retarded, and
there's going to be a photo later of the turban that I'm wearing today.
Oh God!
And what I should do is that we should take a picture of me with the turban, and then I should take the turban off, and they will understand why there was a necessity to cover it up before I went to McDonald's this morning. Like that, because I legit look like Crazy Eyes.
You remember when I
off of Orange is the New Black.
When you pulled up when I first saw you.
Yeah, you just started laughing. Anyway, go check us out on the internet, featherandbone.net. Remember, it's magic, motherfuckers.